Reporting to you live from the future, I'm Alana Kine.
And I'm Oscar Trajewski.
And this is Hungry Talks.
Hold on a minute, Alana. Don't I usually introduce myself first?
Very true, Oscar, but this episode is all about the Boyz Club. Is the culture of advertising shifting away from being male-dominated? Over the course of our degree, and I think Oscar can agree, that our classes have been predominantly filled with women. If we're the future of advertising, the future looks relatively overwhelmingly female. That's why I wanted to introduce myself first.
It's very understandable, Alana.
On today's episode, we want to look at advertising's past, present, and future, and how it affects women in the industry.
So in the 50s and 60s, the communications industry was very heavily male-dominated. However, a post-war economy meant reliance on household purchases made by women. This created an opening for women to enter the industry as they were assumed to understand women's behaviour better.
As the communication industry became more and more female-dominated, it shifted towards a pink ghetto. A pink ghetto refers to a female-dominated industry being undervalued and underpaid. Over time, as more women entered the communication industry, the industry steadily lost its status.
The communications industry started to be being described in softer terms like collaborative and creative.
We see this when women refer to their marketing roles as big girl jobs or being the social media girly. Obviously, this all takes skill, hard work, and strategy to maintain a job in the industry. Yet we still to this day see women undervalued by their male counterparts and also themselves. This has built a ceiling on career growth opportunities within the industry.
So advertising used to be seen as the boys' club, but past culture has managed to cast an icky shadow over the industry today. Although women are entering the industry in droves, there's still a disparity between men and women in leadership roles.
The MFA industry census indicates that although 62% of all media agency employees are women, women only occupy 47% of management roles.
In more recent times, there has also been the hot topic of AI. People may assume that AI is a way to counteract implicit human biases, and while that would be ideal, it's not the reality. AI is commonly criticised for carrying the same biases as the humans who programmed it. But what place does this have in the communications industry? Well, let's take a look from the British AI company Narwhal Labs.
She outworks everyone and she'll never ask for a raise. This campaign also used different headlines like working 9 to 5, she works 24/7, and she starts for free.
This reinforces the idea that women shouldn't advocate for their needs. They should always be available and complicit in the workplace.
This one scares me a bit. Capitalising on soulless robot employees feels like a sign of the apocalypse being upon us. An employee who never talks back, never complains to HR, never asks for a raise, and never stops working sounds like a dream for the people in head office, but for the rest of us, that sounds pretty terrifying.
I can agree with that. One other thing I found very interesting is where they put this ad. So it's in an airport, and airports are full of business travellers and big shots. So the agency isn't really pitching this to the everyday worker. They're pitching it directly to the people who make the hiring decisions, the head honchos. I have to say, it is pretty genius putting it in an airport. But from an employee's perspective, it may be a little less comforting.
Absolutely. We're going to unpack this more with our guests. I think you've heard enough from us at the moment. It's time to welcome some very exciting people for this episode.
Please welcome our guests for this week. Sarah McGregor, Robyn Bergmann, and Pillai.
Sarah McGregor is a National Executive Creative Director and founding member of the Aunties. Sarah has her work recognised by Cannes, D&AD, the Clios, the Webbies, just to name a few.
Next up, we have Robyn Bergmann. Robyn has worked as a creative and art director across a very impressive career, winning over 100 awards. Her work for the Topsy Selena was named one of the top 10 global ads for the decade by Little Black Book.
Last but not least, we have Pillai. Dhiv is a senior strategist at AKQA. She has a score of impressive awards and campaigns under her belt, whilst working at some of Australia's top agencies.
All three of these women are a part of Australia's largest mentoring movement in the advertising and creative industries, the Aunties. The Aunties provide a support network for women and marginalised genders in the creative industry. Sarah, could you please walk us through how the Aunties came to be, and could you do a little elevator pitch on what the Aunties are?
I call it purposeful troublemaking. And the way that the Aunties came to be, our wonderful founder, Phoebe Sloan, I remember it was the depths of COVID and I was at home and my phone rang and it was Phoebe. And she had this idea and it came out of sort of two things that she'd noticed that COVID had made a lot of young women sort of they were missing out on having mentors because they weren't in the agencies, they weren't making those connections. And she'd had a conversation with Esther Clarahan, who we call the OG auntie, who had referred to herself as a sort of a troublemaking auntie. And so Phoebe thought that that was a really great idea for a name.
When you want to be in advertising and when you start off, like, you know, we were talking about the energy in the room when you talk to the young graduates in their third year and stuff like that. There's lots of optimism, you're wearing your sepia tinted glasses, you're like, I'm going to change the world and make all this cool stuff. And you do get to work with brilliant people. You do get to make amazing things. But then you start to realize the statistics around women's experiences in creative industries are actually true. So the national pay gap sits at about 11.1%. In the creative industries, and this is a statistic that was rolled out in 2025, we can get undermined anywhere between 3 to 30%. It's that inflated and it's that pronounced. It's not like there is a dearth of women in the industry, but 60% of the industry is women, so we're disproportionately represented. Only 10% make it into the C-suite, and we see that. For the most part, and this is going to be a little bit incendiary, like the people who make the decisions are men in turtlenecks who look like each other. You know what I mean? So, laughing at each other's jokes. I mean, but yeah. And so you sort of try to insert yourself, and that's when you see the imbalance slightly, where we don't have a voice where it matters. We're not in the most important decision-making spaces most of the time. And I've seen that we have to fight a little bit more to be there because it's been a boys' club for a while. Having said that, it's not that it's all men, it's systemic patriarchy. We've been championed by so many incredible men, but it's just set up in a way that makes it harder for us to have a seat at the table. And when we do have a seat at the table, there's a study from RMIT actually that talked about how if we're assertive, which you need to be, or confident in positions of leadership, you're described as bossy or arrogant. But men don't get the same sort of, backlash for being that way. It's just like, oh, he's a leader. And like, there are all these tiny things you have to navigate. I don't know if you guys have experienced it as well, but the cognitive load of asserting yourself in the workplace, in advertising, where you have to balance out and calibrate your voice and be even but assertive and authoritative, not too emotional. That's what I've experienced as well. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. It can be a lot. And that's why the Aunties exist, to round that off. Like, we're there to turn all this data into something tangible to shape policy, and we're hoping to be able to do that. So yeah, some numbers for you.
Do you think in terms of burnout then, that you're when you're talking about all of this and that load that women have to take on to kind of counter or to meet these men where they are, do you feel like that can lead to burnout? And women not reaching those positions because they're too afraid or
exhausted.
Yeah, exhausted.
I think that it is definitely part of that sort of cognitive load that women carry. Obviously we talk a lot about the cognitive load, the extra load that you have just from having a family at home and taking care of a family. And then when you think about it like that, you're also doing it at the office, in your workplace, in your career. You're also carrying a lot that perhaps men don't. I mean, I don't know what's inside a man's head, but I would think that perhaps they don't have to think about, they don't have to worry about the kinds of things that we worry about. And even just that, as you say, just having to navigate every room that you walk into, every meeting you walk into, it's about finding your place and finding your strength and your confidence in that environment. it's hard going, very definitely.
I think we noticed a real trend as well that, you know, it was really lovely talking to you guys before and hearing that there is predominantly female in your course. And we find that, you know, in award school, it's 50-50. A lot of people going into the industry, there's a lot of women. And then around the sort of age of, well, coincidentally when women are having children, is when we see a really steep drop off. You know, sometimes people go on mat leave, they never come back, or they come back and they just find it's too much. And I think there is a real connection there as well, and that's why I say, you know, passionately all the time that we really have to work to keep women in the industry, particularly after they have children, because that's when the best opportunity is to become a leader, when you've got that seniority, when you're getting to those years in your life, and that's exactly when we're losing women. So yeah, we have to support working mothers, definitely, who have the biggest load of all. So yeah.
And I think just to add to that, you know, if young women or women who are who would like to go away and have a family, if they can see that there are women in the workplace who have families, it just makes it something that they can envision and they can imagine themselves there. So it works backwards as well.
Yeah.
That's so true. Like entering the industry, it was the women who inspired me to be a strategist in the first place. Like visibility for women is so important.
Yeah.
There's the issue of diversity in the industry as well. So if you're a woman and you're a woman of color, your experience could change depending on who you encounter. Like, and it's advertising is where liberal thinking happens, where you're meant to be able to expand your mind and your horizons. And so for the most part, it's where we can set the tone and the terms for how people of color are represented as well. But I've had people say, wow, your English is excellent. I'm like, well, it's my first language. So and then you sort of second guess yourself. So those tiny, potentially subconscious, still microaggressions can happen. And then they kind of get you second guessing yourself, like, oh, do I sound right now? You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's something to think about.
You know, we talk about diversity and agencies. Our target audiences are diverse. We're talking to millions of different kinds of people. We need to have agencies that have different voices, different life experience, different lived experience, different cultures, languages. I mean, that makes me exciting, working in a team where everybody comes from somewhere completely different and it brings with them all these different ideas, you know, because that's how we can make the kind of work that can talk to more people, that can be relevant to more people and kind of just reach more people, you know. And as you say, we are supposed to be the hub or the point at which culture is kind of made, and, you know, we're supposed to be innovative and fresh and driving, you know, advertising forward. But if our agencies are too monoculture, then it's not doing that. It's not doing that. It's only doing it in one way. So that's our mission.
Yes, and I think we've heard monoculture, that word, as of recent, and I think the way that you're putting it at the moment is a positive thing. We don't want to see too much of that, for sure. I want to direct this question to Robyn. Oftentimes women are seen as supporting acts to great men. So the question is, who is one great woman in the industry, or feel free to name a few. I'm sure there are a few notable ones that have inspired or motivated you. And did any great women inspire the creation of the Aunties? And feel free all to jump in.
Well, I mean, just in answer to that, the second half of that question, obviously Esther Clarahan is one of the sort of the OG
She's
auntie.
the OG auntie, yes.
And why she inspired us is, you know, she's had an amazing career in this business, and she has spent her life mentoring women and trying to help them move forward and championing them. And in the last few years, she's become a lot more vocal around just righting the wrongs that this industry is perpetuating. So so she's an amazing inspiration to all of us. But I think, to me, it's really hard to call out one person or, you know, 2 people, 3 people. I would say these 2 women sitting next to me are a huge inspiration. But all the women who not only fill those leadership positions, or just, you know, who are not just staying in the business, but are also actively making change and actively pulling other women up with them.
Yes.
Those are the ones that I would say, thank you for your hard work, because I know it's like going against the stream. It's, you know, it's not easy. And people like, I'm currently working at an agency, and I won't throw names around, but there's an amazing ECD there who is, she's working really hard to make it a different place. You know, she's got 50% female, male gender split. She's got like a less than 5% gender pay gap. You know, they're a B Corp, so they have to have a tiny gender pay gap. You know, they have to correct those things. She's bringing in people who are over 40. She's bringing in people who are neurodiverse. You know, so she's creating this really eclectic mix. And it's not just her; it's also her male partners. So it's the male founders of the business. So it takes a collective effort, but if, you know, instead of just talking about, oh yes, you know, I'm on, you know, I agree with those issues, I'm actively making change, actively creating spaces that are more diverse and where we are not sort of perpetuating these negative stereotypes. So yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm speaking a lot during this bit, but I did want to follow that one up and ask you, Sarah, has the experience of women changed in the time that you've been in the industry? If yes, was it for better or was it for worse? And I feel like there might be some discord.
Look, I mean, I've been in the industry a very long time. I'm definitely aging by myself by telling you it's 25 years. So yes, a lot has changed. I remember being at RMIT. We didn't have a TV studio then. We just had Building 9 and it wasn't renovated. It was cold, full of mice. But, you know, I remember someone saying to me about going into advertising, oh, it's very male dominated, you know, Sarah, it's very male dominated. You know, me being young and excited and fresh, I was just sort of like, oh, no, it's fine, I don't care, I'll change it. And I think when I got in there, you know, I didn't notice it so much at first because I think I was quite starry-eyed, but then I do think it did start to become apparent. You know, you'd sort of see the people who were featured in the press and the people who were on juries and, you know, and it was always men and the people who were getting promoted into those big jobs. And so I think, and you know, the other thing was there was really no one around me who was more senior than me that was female to look up to or to learn from or to get mentored by. It was all men above me. I think there was like maybe one creative I could name, which was Emma Hill, who was more senior than me, who's amazing and is still, you know, still around and still giving back so much. But yeah, so it was strange, and I have seen it improve definitely, but the caveat to that is there's still a long way to go. There is, for sure. And it is now about not just having women in the department because we've got that. It's about making sure that they stay and getting them into those leadership roles and making sure that the system is, you know, is right for them so that they want to stay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's been the biggest change for me. Yeah.
I know Robyn touched on this in terms of in your own workplace, your ECD changing the culture and adding the diversity. But for the Aunties in particular, how would you say the Aunties have changed female experiences in the industry?
Ooh. No, Robyn, you go. Mentorship. Yeah. Just the fact that you could connect people entering the industry with women in established careers within advertising, that was a game changer. And that visibility thing that we talked about, that was where it came to life. We collected them all in a hall, somewhere on Swanson Street. I remember the feeling of walking in, how electric it was just to see all these women, and then we had the sort of speed dating session.
Was the State Library of Victoria, Dhiv?
Oh, like on
Was it some hall?
Those are people. But that was game changing. The number of sort of young entrants to the industry who wrote in and said, this changed everything for me, and who got their first ins into the industry because of it, their first jobs. It was just, bliss.
And those mentors that were teamed up then are still together, like mentors and mentees.
Their relationships.
So they still have that long-lasting relationship, and that will continue. And I think if we can create more of that, that's amazing. I think also a lot of those aunties opted in. So they actively chose to now, I'm going to go and make change. I'm going to go and work at making change. So it's a very active thing, you know. They're taking part, and even still to this day, they're still working away. There's this huge team of aunties all over the country who obviously, you know, Melbourne obviously is our mothership, but women have moved away from Melbourne. You know, they might move to Sydney or they might move overseas, and they take it with them, and they just stay in touch. There's this lovely network now. So
And I think one of the great things about the Aunties is when we first envisaged the Aunties, we sort of used to talk about, you guys are probably too young to remember this, but safety house zones, you know, like in neighbourhoods, you'd see stickers on people's houses to sort of say like, you know, this house is committed to looking out for each other, like so that you could have your children play outside and, you know, if someone's trying to get into your car, they'd alert you. And I feel like we've kind of got Aunties everywhere now.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got, you know, we've got eyes on, and that's you know, I think the more people who are aware of that, there's a feeling of protection and security that comes from that as well. You know, and an auntie is never far away, and you know who's an auntie because it's on our LinkedIn.
yeah,
And there's probably one at your agency. So you know, I think that's a big thing as well.
it's like a promise to each other.
Yeah.
You know, we'll look after each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a great kind of worldwide support network going now, which is fantastic. I'm going to direct this one to Dhiv. So if you could make one change in the industry to promote gender equity, what would that be?
Guys, just one.
Just-
Really?
Just one. Or,
All right, drum roll, buckle in, money.
okay.
Women almost apologize for earning the salaries they have. Like the fact that the thought of sort of asking for more is something that just seems to come effortlessly to men. And women just like, do I deserve it? Am I qualified enough? We are, and we should be talking about how much everyone is making in a team, how much the men are making, how much women are making, looking at the accounts you're on, the amount of work that you're doing and saying, I'm worth 165 or 180 because I've contributed this much to the bottom line. I've expanded the scope by suggesting A and B. Like, you have every right to do that, and I want to see more women find that courage to walk into a room and negotiate and ask about what their teams are making. You have every right to. It should be policy, really. So money is the first way in for me.
Have you got any?
Let's see.
Rob?
Oh, one thing I would say to, because, you know, obviously we talked about how many men are in those leadership positions. I would say make the uncomfortable choice. So choose the uncomfortable candidate. Don't choose the candidate who makes you feel comfortable because you can see yourself in them, and they are your mate, and you can have that mateship and those easy conversations. Choose the woman who is going to challenge you, who's going to bring a totally different perspective into your agency. So that would be my thing. It's just, yeah, don't keep moving down the same pathway. Choose a different pathway.
Put Robyn in the throne room.
Yes, absolutely.
Mine would be normalise taking parental leave for men. And that's something that, you know, I often get men asking me, like, what can I do? You know, what can I do to help, you know, to be more gender inclusive, to be, you know, a better ally? And I always say, take your parental leave, right? Take it. So, you know, if you're in an agency and you're going to become a dad and you are offered the same amount of parental leave as a woman, if all the men take it as well, then it stops being a female problem. And when there's a 30-year-old person sitting there in the job interview, the person would be going, they can't go, oh, she's a woman, that she's going to go and have a baby. They'll go, oh, this person might have a baby, and everyone is then on the same playing field. And also, like, you know, I think in the past when men didn't take parental leave, they missed out on so much as well. You know, they should have those, they should be able to enjoy their children too. And that's what we mean by equality, right? Like, why does that have to be, why is it always the woman who takes the time off to have the children? So that would be my one, and that's something that every man can do to help.
I love that one. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think men need to be very much involved in the conversation when we make it just
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
the women talking about it and men feel as though they can't speak or that they don't have a place or a seat at the table.
Yeah.
I think.
No, we need them as allies to champion all these things that we're talking about because they're in the seats of power.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we need them to come out swinging for us to enable these things to happen for the most part. It would just accelerate things from 0 to 100 if they did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yes.
And you wanna-
I'll try my best. No. So just moving on to Robyn. Well, all of you can answer if you like, but what role do men play in everyday sexism within the industry? And what can men do to support their female colleagues?
Well, I think we've touched on some of that already. I think you know, when it comes to the work that men are making, or you know, or the agency is making, it's also about like and the conversations we're having, and those little microaggressions. I think it's just about being more aware of these things. I think women somehow are very conscious of saying the right thing, being conscious of we have that empathy where we're aware of what other people are feeling, perhaps more. So I would say to men to just sort of dip into a bit of that empathy and feel how, read the room, feel what people are feeling, and try and continue to not perpetuate those stereotypes and those, even in the work that we're making. You know, the work you're putting out there says so much about how people start to think about women. So, like we talk about agencies, but we don't talk enough about the kind of work that we're making. So
give the funny beer brief to the female creative teams.
Yes,
because women are really funny.
Or make a serious beer ad.
Yeah.
Or make another funny beer ad.
But you know, that's so true, because 48% of women, according to the Grattan Institute and Beyond Blue, undertake the emotional labor in the office of mediating moods and like, you know, angry people and you know, touchy clients and things like that. 48%, we're not compensated for carrying the emotional load that actually enables the work to be made. They're called non-promotional tasks because they're non-promotional tasks. Like, that's the unevenness. Those are the stereotypes that play into, oh, she's a carer at home, she can care in the office. So if you ever find yourself, and I'm addressing the camera here, as a woman in a workplace being told to just soothe things over or manage that, or he's just angry, put your foot down. Be like, that's not part of the job description. So it's one thing to consider.
Yeah. I can relate to those things a little bit too much, so I was trying to look at you also.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, just there's a lot of things that need to change just to make everything better, really. Just moving on back to Dhiv, this question's for you, but you guys can also all chip in if you like. Do ads set the tone of sexism within our society, or do they display the reality?
Okay, so I'm sorry, I've got a cough.
All good, all good.
3 years ago, we had a panel funded by Women's Health Victoria and the FedGov called SheCool. Oh, SheCool's the organisation that had us on the panel, and Sarah Vincenzini, if you're listening to this, she was on it. She's a legend, and we talked about this specifically. At the time, and this was 2022, 40% of ads had been sort of benchmarked as sexist. That were out there, and that can sometimes be as a direct result of what Robyn was talking about. Who makes the decisions about what we see? So mums get portrayed as like the mother figure, excessively feminine. Women get hypersexualized. There's the magical grandma, because once you're past 50, you're invisible and that's all you do. Things like that, right? And like diversity, of course. So yeah, to come back to your question, we unfortunately set the tone. I find like on social media, if it's like a creator, for example, where your audience holds you directly accountable and your engagement depends on authenticity, there's less likely to be that sort of thing. So there's a sort of new undercurrent and this swell of a counterculture that's really exciting to see, that's so different from sometimes the ads that are put out on mainstream channels and above the line channels. Like, so that there's a tension there that's really interesting, and I think that should translate into our work. And it will, with more women in the room. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I also think just women being, I know Robyn touched on this earlier, in terms of women being, go the other way and put women, do the uncomfortable thing. And I know a lot of women are getting promoted.
Yeah.
Women are getting promoted, but then at times where it's a precarious time in the company and they're getting pushed. I know the glass cliff theory, I'm sure you guys are probably across, but I think it's important to trust women, not just at times where all else is about to fail. Trust us and believe in us.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. That's really cool. Yeah.
And don't just, you know, put us in meetings where you feel like you need to have a woman in that meeting because there's too many men.
I mean, that used to
Don't
happen
wheel us
all the
out
time.
because, you know, we've all experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't want to sort of paint this doom and gloom picture.
No, we don't.
But it's like we're very candid, and that's what the Aunties are. We'll tell the truth about what we experience. But it's still a beautiful industry with beautiful people, with some incredible male allies, and also women who can sometimes tear other women down. You know, it's not just about women rallying as this one sort of unified group sometimes. Like, we've been socialized to compete with each other. And the patriarchal, you know, the patriarchy loves that, right? So, like, there's all these things to navigate, but stuff like Hungry Talks, being on panels, like getting in touch with the Aunties, which you can do on Instagram and online on LinkedIn, like that can help create change. And all the people we've met today who are so optimistic and who are so opinionated and just so, like, such a refreshing thing to speak to them. Like, you can create change with this knowledge.
Yes.
So, you know, we're hoping to see that happen.
Some of our best allies are men.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
we are not, you know, we don't want to be divisive. We just want people to make active change.
Exactly.
Yeah, we all need to
Yes.
sit
Just
at the
talk
table.
about it.
Yeah. And I think for our final question, Sarah, but also I can extend this to all of you, what auntie advice would you give to the emerging generation of women entering the industry?
Well, it goes without saying, mentoring. That's really important. But I think the piece of advice I would give is particularly the way that the world is going, is it's more important than ever before to be yourself and to bring your whole self to the job that you want. I think sometimes, you know, if you want to be creative, people leave uni or leave award school and they think that their work has to look a certain way or be really right or really correct, and you don't see a lot of the person in it. I want to see the person. I want to, like as Drew Barrymore said, fly your freak flag high. You know? Like, we need personalities, we need unique people, and so just lean into it and bring your whole self. That's what I want to see. That would be my advice to anyone, women, male or female.
And stop trying to conform to what you think you know the industry wants you to be, because actually the industry needs you to be that unique person. And I think just find yourself a strong female mentor, someone who's already been through it and is going to champion you. I think that's really, really important, because it's hard to navigate those early years by yourself as a young woman, because, you know, the industry is kind of designed and geared up to sort of treat you in a certain way and turn you into a certain type of advertising clone. So, you know, find the woman who has been through that and is going to help you navigate that and help you still retain your own true self.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of gaslighting that can go on, right? You need someone who you can call and say, is this normal?
Yeah.
Like, is this really how it is? And they can go, sure, or they can go, no, because you don't know, because everyone around you is doing it and acting like it's normal. But you've got to also trust your instinct as well, and have someone that you can ask those questions of.
And it's so hard when you're young.
It is, yeah. But seeing you guys, being around you, and finding these women who have accomplished so much really helped. But shout out to the men as well. Honestly, wrapping up.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I feel honestly so grateful. I've loved obviously having this conversation with you guys. This makes me feel very hopeful for our future, the collective future of the industry and just the world, if we're going to speak a little bit more broadly about it. With great voices like yours, we need to plaster the Aunties all over the screen somewhere or whatever we do with all the cool effects. We'll be definitely getting in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. It was a very eye-opening discussion and I found it very insightful, so thank you.
Brilliant.
Great.
And for our next section, it's going to be a little bit more fun. So it's now time for human verification with Lucia.
This year on Hungry Talks, I'm running a new segment all about human ability. A couple of serious insights and a few silly ones from our guests and team. This week, I think we could switch it up a little bit and do some feminist verification. So let's check our high-level tech is working. Mark your whiteboards if you're human.
I just have
Okay, good job. You passed the test. Here's what's about to happen. I've got 3 rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask you, and I want your best uniquely human ideas in response.
Okay.
I'll give you 15 seconds to write or doodle on your whiteboard, whichever you prefer, and then we'll flip the whiteboards and see where your heads are at. For the first question, I want you guys to pick 2 campaigns. One that does a great job in representing women and one that sort of misses the mark. Your time starts now. Do you want to flip the boards and...
Cool.
I had a blank, but I did get one.
All
Room
right.
series.
Maybe we just do a little, yeah.
Cool.
Do you want to talk me through, Like a Girl? That's
Yeah, Like a
fantastic.
Girl.
Yeah.
I was a youngie when I saw this, but it made a difference to me
Yeah.
because of how clueless they were about, like, you know, stereotypes around
Yeah.
gender. But the flip side of that is any and all ads that depict women as 2D Stepford wives. We've seen a lot of them. Just like blank smiling, like voids, you know, like no, like that's where, that's where it is for me.
I'm going to be positive.
Yes.
I'm going to say Womb Stories
Yeah.
changed my life.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I just love that it put periods on a pedestal and just talked about period pain and all those things, all that messy stuff, and just like, and made it look so gorgeous and so real and so human, and I just love it. I'll always love it.
Me too. I chose the same one. It just immediately comes to mind, and I love the diversity of the storytelling in that as well. Of all, you know, so many different women's experience. It's amazing. And then, just anything. I'm just not a big fan of the male gaze in product advertising that's meant for women. So I chose this is correct name, Honey Birdette. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
I'm familiar with that one. Yeah.
Now I'm never going to be able to work with this client publicly on social media and said I don't like their advertising, but I'm okay with that.
Well, our second question is, what's your least favourite misconception about women in the industry? We'll flip the boards. All right, there's some good ones here, I can tell. We'll start here because you were pretty fast with your response.
I'm pretty fast. I feel like sometimes I've noticed, and it doesn't come from a mean place. It comes from a place of thinking that they're going to upset people. But I've noticed certain clients, and also sometimes internally, people feel that they can't give women tough feedback. So they can't say, you know, oh, I'm sorry, that idea just isn't resonating, or that idea is just not right. They kind of tell someone to tell you later, so rather than telling you to your face. And I think it comes from a place of trying to sort of protect your emotions. But
Kind of touched on that just in the last interview with that.
Yeah. It's okay. We can handle it.
Yes.
Mine's
sure.
probably a little bit more hard-hitting, but it's got a similar sentiment to that. So that all women are angry and political and emotional and hard work. Just because we're speaking out now and we have a voice does not mean that we're just angry and political and hard work. We are everything. We are diverse. We're also just calm and hardworking, and so don't put us in a box.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue. So mine's that we can't write for men.
Interesting one.
So beer ads, sport ads, AFL things, it's like, oh, naturally it has to go to. And that's unfair. And that's an example of discrimination in the room, because sometimes they're meaty accounts and they're great opportunities, and it'd be great to just sort of let women write to them too.
Yeah.
And that we don't just need to get the fragrance or the beauty or the kind of femme-coded stuff, like, you know what I mean? So that
that's a great one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Our final question is, what's one thing you've done in your career that you're proud of? Flip the boards. Beautiful. We'll start with you.
Okay. So
That's awesome.
I'm quite proud of myself for managing to have this job and raise a child, full stop. It's not easy. I don't really know how you do it. I couldn't tell you, but you just do. But my little boy actually thinks my job is more important than my husband's job.
And what does he do?
He's a dentist.
Really?
So
Wow,
it's clearly not. I write silly shit all day long.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you know, it's worked. The brainwashing's worked.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I've always wanted to be a mum that works, and to especially show a son that that's what women can do as well. You know, they go out and they work just like, and that's normal for him, you know.
And you're a role model just as much as is the
Hopefully.
Mine's interesting. Breaking free from the hold that advertising had over me and finding myself.
Oh, please explain.
So let me explain that. So when you spend a long time in this business, you find that you are indoctrinated in a certain way, and you think about yourself in a certain way, in the way that advertising wants you to think about yourself. And in the past few years, I have found a different way of thinking about myself. And I feel like I have broken free from the hold that advertising had over me. And I am really happy with the person that's on the other side and is going, I don't have to fit that mold anymore, and I'm going to chart my own path. So I'm proud of that.
Do you think that the environments that you're in today then...
Yes.
Are
so actively choosing a different environment, actively choosing to associate myself with people that love me as I am, and all my flaws and all my craziness. Yes. Yes.
Flourishing.
Yes, not trying to fit the mold.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, we talked about that. Just becoming an auntie. Shout out to the aunties.
Yes.
I didn't really think I had anything to contribute. As one of the, I suppose, greener, younger aunties in the group, but I did. And every single time I spoke to someone starting out in the industry, I walked away thinking, wow, I've done something that was meaningful. And then you get a call back weeks, months, years later saying, I did this because you taught me this could happen, or you showed me this was possible. And there's nothing more meaningful than that. So,
that's beautiful. Well, I think it's safe to say that you guys passed the test. I'm feeling a lot of human in this room. Thank you for your time today and your insight. It's very helpful to women, men, everyone in the industry. And the Aunties are great. It's great to have an organisation like the Aunties to look up to and know that it's even there. But it's back to my friends on the desk, Oscar and Alana.
It was pretty evident that we could have spoken with the aunties all day, but unfortunately it is time for our next segment, Future Forecast.
So we could not make Hungry Talks without 12 other dedicated communication students. There are a lot of people behind Alana, Lucia and myself, and they've all got brilliant ideas for their careers and the future of communications.
Each week we'll have one of our own team members answer a question given by guests or our social media followers.
This week's guest is our very own project coordinator and creative director, Georgie Bolch. Dhiv wants to ask Georgie, before AI heading into the world of work was about things like how people speak, how to build relationships, how to conduct yourself professionally, and how to progress. Right now, choosing what to do seems almost existential, especially when junior roles are increasingly automated. There are fewer opportunities. So, how do you feel about the new world of work? What worries you most, and what are you optimistic about?
Well, thank you so much for the question, Dhiv, and thank you, Oscar, for speaking it out to me. So it's a big one, but I think for me, as an aspiring junior art director, I'll have a different perspective than writers and strategy-focused students because writing doesn't really come naturally to me. So I am one to use a bit of AI to help me improve my grammar and expression, which my copywriters wouldn't be very happy with. However, if someone shows me a visual created with generative AI like Firefly or Gemini's Nano Bananas, I'm not really a fan of it, and I think it looks fake and frankly uncanny valley. I believe it has its place in helping make realistic mock-ups to show clients an accurate representation of what we are going to create them. However, I believe anyone who decides to start using AI for their final products are going to threaten their business's authenticity. So being a creative, I may have a better understanding, but I think ads that use AI stick out like a sore thumb, whether it's used for just the visuals or the whole idea. Now, art director me aside, looking at AI content in general, recent studies find that AI tends to favour men in its algorithms. That's a big word, algorithms, which is the issue we're talking about today. AI tries to reflect humanity, and humanity is systemically misogynistic, which means the responses we're getting are inherently biased. This isn't just for women, but for other marginalised genders and communities. If we want ads and communications to reflect reality, then the only way to do it is to let all voices have equal input, not just the most powerful. This is what For the Love of Humans is all about. Yes, humans cost money, but what's the point in creating the content that if it doesn't even perform well? This is why UGC and EGC content is performing so well. People are craving that human connection in order to trust brands. If every company keeps putting the same brief into AI, communications are just going to be ignored. Which is one thing when you're promoting a random luxury, but when you're working for a charitable cause that impacts people's real lives, making communications outputs that actually change audience perspectives is incredibly important. At the end of the day, people see advertising as just capitalism, but it can do so much more. So no wonder it feels plastic and vain when we ask people to support a serious cause when you aren't even paying a human to make the campaign. So, saying all this, I think AI certainly has its place in our world, but I think human creativity should be used as the default for many reasons. To answer your question, yes, AI worries me that I won't have a job because the days of juniors doing the basic campaigns and scouring the internet for stock imagery are over. So with me being inexperienced and needing a wage because I'm not a robot, I am ultimately disadvantaged. The limited graduate job positions just get more limited by the day. It's not about studying hard, having a good portfolio, and making connections anymore. I somehow have to stand out in a way that can't be taught. Unfortunately, it's more about time and place, and hopefully throughout this series we will learn from our amazing guests like Sarah, Robyn and Dhiv about how we can stand out and get a job. Looking at the positive side of things, I am optimistic that human intelligence will overcome this challenge. People are already getting sick of AI content, and I think it's only so big because it's new. It's like with all new technologies. We think it's going to be the end of the world, and then we all work it out and adapt. It's human nature. We've been adapting from the beginning of time, and I believe we will overcome this. For my part, I'm going to keep using AI to check my spelling mistakes and adjust my recipes to different quantities because I can't do math. But when it comes to my advertising, I'm going to keep doing my mind maps and writing up random ideas that come from my dreams. And I hope I can use my overactive brain to my benefit and make some inherently human ads that will make a true difference. Now, that is all from me. I just wanted to say a big thank you to the Aunties for joining us. As a young woman entering the industry, I just can't explain how much the Aunties mission means. You are creating a better future for yourselves and for us. My mum, who's a big inspiration of mine, has worked in the communications industry her whole life and battled through the 90s and 2000s. And it makes me grateful that I'm entering the industry with support from an amazing organisation that my mum wasn't fortunate enough to have. So thank you from me and all of the young women on the Hungry Talks team and throughout our course. It means the world. I will let it go back to Alana now. Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Georgie, thank you so much for those words and sharing your wonderful perspective.
Oh, wait, Alana. You forgot. We have one more auntie to talk to.
I was getting there, Oscar. I couldn't forget head social auntie Beatrix Fisher. This week we left the confines of our studio to interview her. Let's take a look. Oscar.
What?
What are you doing?
I'm trying to book tickets to the bloody IMAX Odyssey. I swear it would have been easier to fight in the Trojan horse than to get these damn tickets.
Well, lucky for you, the Trojan horse is fictional, and today we're doing something far more exciting. So I think you can pop the phone away. Instead of sitting down and watching a 3-hour movie about a man's great journey that categorically fails the Bechdel test, today we're sitting down with the wonderful Bea Fisher, and we're going to go through her great journey fighting self-proclaimed gods and monsters. So,
Look at me go. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here, Bea. So let's begin right at the beginning of your journey at university. So please tell us about your university experience.
Gosh, feels like a lifetime ago that I was at uni. I did an undergraduate in media and communications at Melbourne Uni. It was the last old model course before they transitioned all the undergraduates through to a more American model. And yeah, it was a great experience. We had a cohort of around 100 to 150 people in our course when we started, quite an even split between males and females. And when we graduated, there's probably between 50 to 70 of us, and probably more like upweighting towards females. And I was just surrounded by amazing women, primarily in my friendship group, who all wanted to explore media, and we were all in this awesome, exciting mindset of just wanting to kickstart our careers. So yeah, my course was great, and yeah, a good entry point for me.
in terms of gender through your course, I know you said you had a really positive experience, especially with the females in your course, but it was just quite an even split. Would you say there'd be anything about your university experience that stood out to you in terms of gender towards the end of your, like, getting closer to entering industry?
I think the thing that probably is the most notable is that gender wasn't really talked about in my degree. So it was not talked about in relation to media and communications. In regards to any inequalities or any challenges. And so my perception upon leaving the industry was like, oh, we've all got this fantastic equal opportunity at the industry. And, you know, the other thing that I think I learned quite quickly was I thought the industry was, you know, there were a couple of pathways. There's dozens of pathways into the industry that I just was not aware of. And the way that gender comes into play in different parts of the industry is very different, and I just had no idea how diverse it was.
Mm-hmm. And then moving into industry.
Oh, I got you. Early career. This kind of looks slightly terrifying, but it probably was quite a mildly terrifying time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early career.
Yeah. Starting off early career, how was it entering from uni?
Yeah, it was really big. I didn't quite know what to do when I started I didn't know when to start my career, to be honest. I remember distinctly being in my last year of university, and I was on Swanston Street, and I could have caught the tram back to Melbourne Uni, and I could have applied for my masters or my honours, or I could have caught the tram to Flinders Street and just gone, stuff it, I'll just take a break. And I was on the phone to my mum, and she was like, you know, if you want to take a break, just take a gap year, that's absolutely okay. And I just kind of went, stuff it, that's what I'm going to do. So I just took, it was a real sliding doors moment. I was like, I'm just going to catch a tram to Flinders Street. But I had a really supportive family environment at the time, and the thing that I had always wanted to do, I was 6 years old when I told my mum I wanted to work in TV. And so a job came up at Channel 9, and my family were really supportive and just give it a go. And I was full of self-doubt. I was I don't have any relative experience, but I applied for it anyway, and I got it, which was that kick-started my career. And I think what really helped towards that was while I was at uni, I had some great internships and work experience, and they were really formative experiences. You know, uni taught me about critical thinking and how to, you know, look at challenges, how to really refine my hard skills with writing. But those, you know, internship experiences showed me what it's like to be in an office environment. That was really foreign to me, what it's like working with a mix of different people. And yeah, I was able to use all of those experiences in a portfolio to get my job at Channel 9, which was, really, really exciting.
Really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the dynamic shift from university into your career, did gender influence that in any way?
I think in terms of, that shift, I think it was an abrupt shift to more soft skills, more human skills. I think at uni it was very theoretical for me and very written based. There weren't heaps of opportunities to practice presenting or do something like this. We just didn't have those opportunities. So when I entered the industry, soft skills, human skills were really key to being a part of a successful team. And at Channel 9, the main thing for me was it became more than just gender. I think it really became learning about how to relate and talk to a range of different people that I worked with, regardless of gender. Also, I had a diverse team in terms of age, cultural background, experience, and gender, and learning how to communicate effectively with all of them. That was a challenge. That was a really big challenge. And also not reading books by their covers. I think, when I entered the industry, I'd meet somebody and be like, oh, I reckon they're that type of person. And that was very naive of me. There's so much more to, everybody that you work with, and you need time to let those relationships grow. And so, I think what I learnt the most is just, get to know every individual and get to know them on a personal level. That's, the most important thing, just learning how to communicate to a range of people regardless of gender.
And going on that point of communication, when you first enter, I feel like you can feel, as you said, with your experience, even though you'd built up with your internships and then university experience, you can feel like you're kind of a small fish in a big pond. Do you feel at any time it was hard to kind of speak up or advocate for yourself, or did you feel like you were surrounded by quite a supportive network?
When I first started, it can be intimidating being in a large team where people have years of experience. I did find it hard to speak up. But then, adversely, on the other end of the spectrum, I was learning by what we call osmosis in the industry, which is just by listening and just absorbing a lot of things around you. So I think I was in that phase as well. Just because I was quiet, I was still taking everything in. It can be hard to advocate for yourself, and I think the further I got into my career, the more it just naturally found a voice. And that sounds easier, it's easier said than done, but it is just giving it a go. And I think the thing that has best helped me is what's the worst that can happen? If I ask for something and somebody says no, okay, but am I going to lose my job? Probably not. And so just having that conversation in my head and getting outside my comfort zone, because I think the more you get outside your comfort zone gets bigger. Just giving things a go.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that very well segues almost to career success, but to the Aunties, which is a massive point. If you could talk to us a little bit, Bea, about your experience since joining the Aunties.
Yeah, the Aunties, as a collective, are there to support women, marginalised genders, non-binary, people in our industry, and I think just that, statement is something that is just super exciting to be a part of. But for me, the thing that really encouraged me to reach out to the Aunties was the sharing of knowledge across the industry. I think, as I said before, the industry is so much bigger than I ever would have thought at uni. And once you start, you kind of enter one lane and you can just keep going down that one lane and you only know people in that area. And what the Aunties does is they create a support network across multiple parts of the industry. And I think that is such an amazing thing. I also come from a long line of teachers, and everybody in my family, I was expected to be a teacher as well. And for me, there's nothing more valuable than mentorship across our industry. And so the reason I reached out to the Aunties was because they were starting mentorship programs between junior and senior people in our industry.
You spoke a little bit about having those teachers in your family, long line of teachers. But in terms of like an auntie figure in your early career in your life, would you say there is a person that sticks out to you?
I think in my early career, I've been really fortunate to be around really fantastic female leaders, whether it be at Channel 9. My first 6 years were in television, and then I moved into agency, more traditional advertising teams. And when I made that shift in my career, there's one person that really stands out to me. And the thing that was most amazing and most auntie-ish thing about her was that she just lifted up those around her and gave them confidence in what they were doing. Her door was always open, and yeah, there was no silly question with her, and I still catch up with her like to this day, and she's really been a key mentor through my kind of advertising agency journey. Yeah,
fantastic. It sounds like you found a really good person to help guide you, but I think it's now time to move on to the final
my
stop.
team.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway.
Yes. So obviously you've been very successful so far in your career.
Thank
well,
you.
I'd say, but yeah. So if you could talk about like how the aunties have helped you develop your career in a way, and kind of like how they've just made you successful.
Yeah,
basically.
Look, I think, that's a great question. For me, the Aunties were never that organisation that I wanted to join to propel my own career. Wasn't about my own career development, join the Aunties. For me, joining the Aunties is doing something more purposeful and something more meaningful in the industry outside of my day-to-day. And that's what the Aunties allow me to do. The collective group of women that run the Aunties, they open up safe spaces for support, and I just think that that is just invaluable in our industry. So for me, the Aunties have given me day to day. I work in social media advertising. We work for lots of different brands. We can sell you mascara, we can sell you
Pens,
automobiles. I'm kind of dumbing it down. It's a very creative space, but I think when you really create those meaningful connections across the industry, it brings so much more meaning, I guess, to your career. So yeah.
And being a leader, I've got a question for you in regard to what kind of leader would you say that you are, and what kind of leader do you aspire to be?
It's a big question. I think the leader that I am is, I would hope, I guess my team could tell you, I have 25 amazing people underneath my wing. I think I'm a leader that probably takes inspiration from my mentors. My door is always open. I want it to be a comfortable space where anybody, no matter what level within my team, feels comfortable to have conversations with me. I really want them to feel supported. I want to make sure that they feel like their voices are valued and heard, and also that I can challenge them to grow and be on their own career pathways. I think the leader that I aspire to be is somebody who can retain their individuality and their personality, and I guess uniqueness. I think in years gone by, if we wind back 20, 25 years ago, there are tales of women who maybe had to tweak their leadership style to probably be a bit more male skewed, to play up to those male dominated spaces. And the leader that I really want to be is somebody that retains that femininity and individuality and authenticity, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bea, for all your great words. We are at now the end of our map, but I don't think we're at the end of Bea's journey. So
where am I going?
We would hope that the map would get bigger and bigger.
Okay, it's getting bigger.
And your
Great.
odyssey just continues and you get more successful and
I
whatnot.
can come back next year. We can keep plotting it.
Yeah, we'll double the size
We
next
would love
year. But no, thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries at all.
Allowing us to interview you and taking us through your great odyssey throughout the advertising industry.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
We hope you all loved hearing Beatrix's story. We sure did. Now, time for all of our advertising students to listen up. It's time for our quick brief.
So given we've been talking about female empowerment and gender equity all episode, we found it very important to focus this week's quick brief on the root issue, toxic male behaviour.
RMIT has asked for an ongoing behaviour change campaign aimed at male attitudes. The brief looks at what it means to be a man and how men can switch the narrative to support true gender equality and safety.
The SMP asks you to redefine what it means to be a man.
As usual, email your scamps to scampchamp@hungrytalks.com.au for your chance to be featured on the Honour Wall in AdLab or to be in the running for the 2026 Scamp Champ.
Good luck, scampers.
The industry is far from perfect, but we're lucky to have many amazing trailblazing women who are campaigning for change and ultimately paving a better path for emerging generations of creatives.
So I think this episode's topic is extremely important. These issues must be discussed at the forefront so that as men, we can figure out how to support the women in this great industry to make the workplace safer and more inclusive.
I agree, Oscar. To wrap up today's episode, we want to say a massive thank you to all our guests on today's episode, but also a big thank you to all the women that came before us. There have been generations of women in the industry pioneering a place for us emerging graduates.
So throughout this series, you'll hear us mention the future a lot. But today it was important to look back into the past to see how far we've come. So thank you to all the women who were the only women in the room that made it so now women fill our classrooms.
Next week, we'll be discussing what's communication without communication and how we're diverting to prioritise efficiency and reach over human connection and voice. Will AI take over our feeds or do we still crave that human touch?
So reporting to you live from the future, I'm Oscar.
And I'm Alana. What's communication without communication goes live at 6 p.m. next Wednesday. We'll see you then.